Okay. So from our hands and knees, we're just going to do a couple of cat cows. So that's one of the classic ones. With cat, we're going to let our back come up. We're going to let our hips drop, our head drop, our chest drop. Really think about working into your shoulders, your inner shoulder blades. You should be feeling a really nice stretch there. And then slowly with your breath, it's kind of your choice whether you do this on the inhale or exhale. We're going to start letting our stomach drop. We're going to let our hips come up. We're going to let our chest come up, our chin come up. Head is the last thing to come up. And this is our cow. Don't ask me why it's called that. I have no idea. So we're going to go through cat to cow several times. We're going to go, let's say 5 times. You can do it at your own pace. Just sort of flow through with the breath. This is just a good warm up for your spine. I like to call it, we lube our chains every few rides on the bike. This is sort of like lubricating your spine for what's coming. If you feel like you want to move your hips from side to side when you're in cow, that's another really great way to kind of loosen up your low back. So if you have a tight lower back, if you just kind of go side to side, it's going to feel really, really nice. So let's do one more of each of those, and then we'll meet sort of in the middle in our nice tabletop position. So now that we're in our nice tabletop position, think really strong. Your core should actually be engaged right now. Don't kind of slump into it. Really think about digging into the mat with your hands, really pressing down. Your legs should be engaged, actually. Like, it's easy to kind of feel really casual in this, but think about those tops of your feet really pressing into the mat, and that's going to make you feel a lot more stable and strong. Like, if I was there and I could push you, you wouldn't fall over. Not that I would push you, but all right, let's go into circle flow. Again, a lot of the people from Girona who are on this will probably remember. I will not be doing animal sound effects here because that feels really weird to be doing into the video chat, but those of you who've done this with me, maybe you can do them at home. So we're going to slowly make our way into cat. And then we're going to drop back into that cow pose. We're going to look up, chin comes up, chest comes up. We're going to tuck our toes under. We're going to lift our knees just a little bit. And then we're going to press our butts up and back into a downward dog. So while we're here, you want to think about your butt aiming for where the ceiling and the wall meet. So up and back, not just up, not just back. And then we're going to slither forward into our plank. We're going to drop our knees. We're going to let our toes come out. And we're going to press it back into child's pose. We'll just hang out here for a couple breaths. Nice deep breaths here. This is a really good chance to check in on that belly breathing because your stomach is right on your hips, or hopefully it's close to them. So you can really feel your stomach pressing into your thighs. All right, let's come on back up to tabletop. We're going to do this 2 more times. So we're going to slowly make our way into cat. Arch your back. And then drop your stomach, hips come up, chest comes up, chin comes up. Into our cow, we're gonna tuck our toes, lift our knees, press it up and back into downward dog. Then we're gonna slither it forward into plank, drop our knees, toes come out, press it back into child's pose. Pause for a breath here. And make your way back up to tabletop. Last one. Arch it like a cat. Drop it like a cow. Tuck your toes, pop your knees, press it up and back into downward dog. Slither it forward into a plank. Knees come down, toes come out. Press it back into child's pose and relax. So from here, we're just gonna thread the needle. So we're gonna take our left hand, we're gonna thread it under our right armpit, and just let our heads come back down. If you want a little bit of extra stretch, you can kind of tilt just a little bit toward your left. Don't go so far as to dislocate your shoulder, please. At no point should any yoga pose feel painful. This should only feel like a nice, gentle stretch. So relax into it. And let's bring that left hand back out and take your right hand, thread it under your left armpit, and relax into that one. And again, both sides might feel totally different. For me, my right side is definitely tighter, so I can get less far down. I need to press less onto my right side to feel a good stretch. It's perfectly okay and totally normal that two sides are going to be different from each other. Couple breaths here. And bring that right hand back out. Make your way back up to a tabletop position. And from here, we're gonna tuck our toes under. We're gonna pop our knees up. We're gonna press it up and back into downward dog. But then we're just gonna walk our hands back to meet our feet in a nice forward fold. So in this forward fold, your knees can be just a little bit bent, just so it's nice and comfortable and you're not really stressing your hamstrings. Hands don't have to make it down to the mat. If they make it here, that's fine. If they make it to the mat, that's fine. Wherever feels good. We're not going for an ouchy stretch. We're going for an, oh, this feels good stretch. Couple nice breaths here. Now we're going to slowly make our way up to standing. So this is our slow race. The one that I always lose is the up to standing from forward fold. So we're going to try vertebra by vertebra to come up to standing with our heads as the last thing that's going to come up. And once we're nice and straight and up, we're going to go into our mountain pose, which is basically just standing up straight. But we're thinking about standing up straight really strong. So think about planting your feet on the ground. Think about your core being turned on. Again, if I pushed you, you wouldn't fall over. Shoulders down and back. Head should feel like if there was a cord connected and pulling you straight up, you'd be standing nice and tall. Okay, from here, we're going to inhale. We're going to bring our arms all the way up. We're going to look up. We're going to do a tiny, tiny back bend, like only a couple degrees back. And then we're going to swan dive our arms forward, back into that forward fold. Let our head relax. On our next inhale, we're going to straighten our back so that we're making a nice 90-degree angle between our back and our legs. And then we're going to exhale and go back into our forward fold. Now, we're going to slowly walk our hands out in front of us into a plank. And here's the slow race that I usually win. We're going to slow race down to the ground. So think about your military style push-up. You want your elbows to be coming back, not out. You want them to be coming back. So slowly make your way all the way down to the ground. Pretend like I can see you. Don't just slump down like this. And when you make it all the way down, let your toes come out. We're going to bring our hands far and wide of the mat. We're going to plant them very firmly on the ground. And on our next inhale, we're going to press into them and lift our chests up, coming into what I call a teeny tiny baby cobra. So we are not doing a really dramatic cobra. This is just a slight little lift. We don't want to tax our backs just yet. Think about your shoulders. They shouldn't be up at your ears. They should be down and relaxed. Looking forward, chin is up. Nice deep breaths. Then we're slowly going to lower down and really think about how your ribs feel as they hit the mat. I love this. I feel like it's a really good kind of almost massage for your internal organs that are right around your rib cage. So we're gonna come down to the mat and we're gonna bring our hands back to either side of our chest. We're gonna tuck our toes. We're gonna press it up into plank and then back into downward dog. You might need to reset your feet a little bit for downward dog. And we're gonna hang out here for a few breaths. So think about pedaling your feet a little bit. Think about butt coming up to where the wall and the ceiling meet. Think about your shoulder blades sort of sliding down your back. If you've been pedaling, maybe stop pedaling for a minute and just feel how it feels when both legs are still. Heels do not need to touch the ground. One more breath here. All right, we're gonna lift our right leg up and back in the air. And then we're gonna step our foot up between our hands. So we're in our nice high lunge. So once you're pretty convinced of your balance, you can come on up. Now you can sort of pick your poison with how you're gonna adjust for balance here. If you're feeling a little nervous about balance, maybe your arms come out. If you're feeling really good about your balance, maybe your arms come up. Think about being nice and strong in both legs. If you look over your knee, you should be able to see your toes. That's how you know you haven't gone too far. You don't want to be like this. This is very bad for your knees. You want to have a nice 90-ish degree angle. Back leg should be nice and strong. Really think about activating the quad, the hamstring in your left leg. If you feel like that's super easy, you can bring your left arm, your left forearm down to your left leg. Maybe get that right arm up and over. But you should be able to move your left arm. Don't slump into it. And bring both hands back down to either side of your foot. We're gonna step it back into plank. And we're gonna have another slow race all the way to the ground. Toes come out, hands go far and wide. If last cobra felt totally fine, maybe you can bring them in a little bit more. And on your next inhale, we're gonna press it up into that cobra again. And again, there's no winning or losing here. However high up you get is totally fine. I know a lot of people for whom, an inch off the ground is plenty. It's not really about how far you get up. It's really about getting the stretch that makes sense for you. So nice deep breaths here. And slowly start to lower that back down. Bring your hands to either side of your chest. Tuck your toes. Get ready. Press it back up into plank. Pause for a second here. And back into downward dog. Maybe reset your feet. Maybe pedal them out. Keep thinking about those nice deep breaths. I know it's hard to breathe into your belly when you're in this position, but if you think about what you're like on the bike, if you can practice breathing deeply when you're like this, it's going to really help you when you're bent over the handlebars. All right, from here, let's bring that left leg up in the air. And then we're going to step our left leg up between our hands. Find your happy place in high lunge. Hands come off the ground. Maybe they come out for some extra balance. Maybe you can do some prayer hands if that feels good. Maybe your hands come up. It's really about what feels right for you here. Check in with your toes. Can you see your toes over your knee? If you're having trouble with balance, look for something on the wall ahead of you that is stationary. So probably try not to look at me when you're balanced because I'm moving all over the place. Find like a hole in the wall or a painting or something like that and focus on that. Again, think about that back leg being nice and strong. Maybe come up and down just a tiny bit, really work into this right hip. As cyclists, we tend to have very tight hips, so this is a really good way to kind of start loosening them a little bit. And if you want a little bit of added balance challenge, you can bring your right forearm down to your left thigh. Keep that left arm up. Maybe look up toward the ceiling if you really want to challenge your balance. Keep breathing. Whatever you do when you're in balance poses, it's really tempting to hold your breath. Don't do that. It's just going to make it much harder. And when you're ready, bring your hands back down to either side of your left foot. Step it back into plank. Find your nice strong plank. So think about your plank position for a second. Try to make sure you're in one good straight line. Make sure your legs are activated, core is activated, glutes are activated. And slow race it down to the ground. Toes come out. Hands come far and wide. Again, if last time felt good, maybe bring them in a little bit more. And inhale, press it up into that cobra. Maybe by now your cobra has reached the teen years. Nice deep breaths here. Check in on your shoulders. Are they up at your ears or are they nice and relaxed? Deep breaths. Really think about your legs being active during this instead of just kind of slumped. Really want your glutes activated, your hamstrings. And slowly start to lower it back down. Again, think about that rib cage massage. And once you're down, hands come back to either side, tuck your toes. And I know, big surprise, we're gonna press it up into plank and back into downward dog. And maybe walk your dog a little bit. Maybe stop and actually pause on, letting your right foot really come down to the ground, your right heel come down to the ground for a breath or two, and then switch so your left foot comes down. And then try both of them. See if you're any closer to getting all the way to the ground with your heels than you were when you first started. If you're not, that's totally fine too. All right, good news. The hard stuff is done. So let's bring that right leg up and back. And this time when we come forward, we're going to bring our right knee up between our hands. And bring our whole shin, foot down on the ground. Left leg comes back and down, toes come out. So we're in our pigeon. So from here, once we've found our comfortable pigeon place, or semi-comfortable pigeon place, you can decide if you want to stay up like this. That's totally great. It's a really fantastic stretch just up like this. If it feels better, you can start kind of coming down onto your elbows, or even come all the way down so that your head is on the ground. It's really whatever is going to feel right for you. But the one thing I'm going to ask everyone to do is to keep moving while they're in this. So you can't really see it too much, but I am still kind of shifting from side to side here. It's kind of all about really working into these little tiny places that don't often get worked into. I find in Pigeon, a lot of people just sort of find like that one spot and just kind of collapse into it, and that's it, they're done. But I'd really encourage everyone to just keep moving while they're hanging out in it, because you get a lot more benefit. Now just keep tipping from side to side. We're not talking big movements, just like an inch or two. You might find some new spots where you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was as tight as I. And even play around with where your hands are. If you're usually someone who goes all the way to the ground, maybe think about coming up like this, because you might hit somewhere that you normally don't get to work into. And wherever you're at, start coming up so you're sitting up nice and tall. Hands flatten onto the mat. We're gonna tuck our left toes under. We're gonna lift our left knee to give us a little bit of space. And then we're gonna step that right leg back into a plank. We're gonna hold our nice strong plank here for a couple beats. Okay, I lied. We still have a couple little hard things to do, but most of the hard work is done. And then we're gonna slow race it all the way back down to the mat. Again, thinking about those elbows staying in, not flaying out. Once we're down, toes come out. Hands come far and wide, or in a little bit more even. And we're gonna press on up into our cobra on our next inhale. Maybe this is like cobra who's like college age and about to leave for school. If you're feeling really good, you can go into a full-on adult cobra. Again, make sure your shoulders are down, make sure your head is looking straight ahead, not looking up, not looking down. Just nice and looking straight at whatever is in front of you. And we're gonna slowly start to bring that back down. One last little massage for our rib cage. Hands come back to either side of our chest, tuck our toes, press it up into plank, and back into downward dog. Last time here, so let's really make it count. And let's bring that left leg up and back. And then our left knee comes up between our hands, shin comes down, toes go straight. Right leg comes back and down, toes come out. And we're gonna find our comfortable spot on this side, which again, might be up, it might be halfway down, it might be all the way down. Whatever is going to work best for you. But again, we're just gonna keep moving while we're here. Now this is one that everyone can really do every day. This is one that doesn't hurt, doesn't really take any effort. You can do it while you watch Netflix. Let's be real, we all have a lot more time in front of the TV right now. So if you're gonna be sitting in front of the TV, this is a really easy way to get in a pretty lazy stretch. So just something to think about. That's why a lot of the stuff we're doing today is really simple yoga stuff. I didn't want to go into anything complicated because A, you're not on video, so I can't see and assess everyone, but B, I want this to be things that are easily repeatable, that you guys can practice at home by yourselves and sort of take with you, maybe do as like a pre-ride warm-up, that kind of thing, post-ride cool down. All right, wherever you're at in your pigeon, come back on up so your hands are planted firmly on the mat. Tuck your right toes, lift your right knee to give yourself some space, and then step that left leg back into a plank. And then from here, we're actually just gonna let our knees drop. We're gonna let our toes come out, and we're gonna press it back into child's pose. Take a few extra breaths here. You can even think about sort of rolling your shoulder blades from side to side a little bit. They're just playing with how they feel. Maybe even shift your hips from left to right. See if one side is tighter than the other. And then we're slowly just going to make our way on up to our hands and knees. And then come on over onto your bums and lay down on the mat with your feet just a few inches from your butt. Head comes down. All right, we're just going to do a few final stretches here. So this is the complicated one. We're going to bring our right ankle to our left knee. You know, like we're home and being casual, talking on the phone or something. And then from here, here's where it gets a little complicated. We're going to bring our right hand through that triangle we just made. We're going to lift our left foot up off the floor. And we're going to bring our left hand around our left leg to grab our right hand. Then we're going to lean our heads back as they can go. You might still be up here because you're really tight in your hips. That's totally fine. And just breathe into wherever you've gotten to. If this is super easy, you can maybe make some foot circles with your left foot. Really slow and deliberate foot circles though. It's really easy to make very casual foot circles, but I want you to really think about the entire 360 degrees that your foot is going and really feel it. Like you should feel it up your calf if you're doing it kind of carefully and pointedly enough. So maybe go 3 one direction and then flip it and do 3 in the other direction. This is really great because cyclists tend to not have a lot of dorsiflexion, so we're not super good at bringing our toes up, but it's actually really, really great for kind of our whole lower leg if we can have a little bit more movement there. And when you're ready, we're going to release our hands. We're going to bring that left foot back down to the ground. And then we're actually going to tip over towards our left so that our right foot comes over to our left side. So we're sort of stretched like a bit of a pretzel here. We're going to bring our arms out far and wide on the ground, and we're going to look over our right hand shoulder. So you're getting a really nice twist here. This is one of my favorites for if you're having any kind of digestive issues, because I feel like it really works your intestines a little bit and gives you a bit of a twist that can sometimes help relieve any kind of bloating or stomach discomfort. Super good for post-race when you have that like cross gut or mountain bike gut, when you've taken just one too many gels and you feel like everything is just a ball in your guts. Get into this and hang out for a few minutes. Think about those deep belly breaths. So if you were on video, I should be able to see your stomach going up and then coming down. Like if you are looking at the computer right now, you can see my hand on my stomach going way up and then way down. And slowly bring it back to center. Release that right leg. Right foot comes down to the ground. Now we're going to do it on the other side. So left ankle comes to our right knee. Left hand goes through the triangle. Right foot comes up. Right hand comes around our right leg to grab our left hand. And then relax on back. And again, you might only get to here. You might not be all the way down. That's totally fine. Part of that depends on arm length, which is totally arbitrary. So anytime you feel like you can't get into a pose, just remember it's probably not about necessarily your flexibility. It might also just be, you know, your leg length or your arm length or your torso length. Not everyone can get into every pose, and it's totally fine. So while you're here, if you feel so inclined, you can do those foot circles we just talked about, nice and slow and really focused. So really think about every angle there. And there's probably going to be a point in the circle where your foot kind of feels like it's stuck. That's totally normal, totally fine. Just something to notice and to kind of take note of, because it means, okay, maybe you do need to do a little bit more with the ankle circles more often. You might hear some cracking. I don't know if anyone could just hear that on the microphone. My ankle just cracked. Also totally fine. And release your hands, foot comes back down, and then let your left foot tilt over to your right side. Arms come out, and then look over that left hand shoulder. Again, really focus on the breath coming from the belly. So really let your belly inflate and then deflate. There is no video, no one is watching you do this. So it really does not matter what you look like. I know for a lot of the kids we worked with in Girona, this was super helpful, this deep breathing stuff, because when we're climbing and doing these things where you tend to start panting, to remember to be able to deep breathe is super helpful for just calming yourself down. So if you're having a really tough time on a climb and you can just take 2 deep breaths and then go back to your panting, it's probably going to do so much to drop your heart rate and just relax your body. So just think about that next time you're riding. And when you're ready, bring those legs back to center. Let your left leg come back down. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself one nice hug. Maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Give your spine a little bit of an extra massage. And then, good news, it is time for Shavasana. So we're going to let our legs just come out and down on the ground. Your feet can kind of fall to either side. Arms come down to the ground, sort of wherever they're comfortable. And we're going to close our eyes. And we are just going to take 10 nice deep breaths. So I'm not going to talk during this. Just going to count on everyone to stay lying down with their eyes closed, just fully relaxed, sinking into the mat, just breathing. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth, whatever feels good for you. But just take 10 deep breaths. And we're slowly going to start to wiggle our fingers and toes, kind of come back to being awake, being aware. And then at your own pace, hopefully no one fell asleep there, although I guess not really a bad thing if you did. Anyway, at your own pace, slowly make your way on back up to sitting. And all right. Really, really awesome job with this first day of yoga, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful to all of you who came online to do this today. Go forth and enjoy the rest of your day. If you want to ask me anything about yoga or anything like that, just hop in the chat. I'll hang out here for a few more minutes. Thank you so much. And hopefully I will see you guys on Wednesday. We're doing this again at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. So tune in then. Namaste.